name's Ty Gallo from Queensland, Australia. I do a lot of travelling, especially to the snow for snowboarding, and since there's no snow anywhere near me, I have to travel very far to get my snow fix. I often get asked by my friends who want to go on similar snow trips, questions and tips, so I thought I'd put this video together with some travel tips. First of all, you need to decide what country or ski resort you'd like to visit to make sure it's within your budget. For an Australian winter from June through to September, the most common places would be Perisher, Thredbo, Falls Creek, Mount Hotham, Mount Buller, or even New Zealand, or even South America, Chile maybe. For the Australian summer, from December through to March, April even, the most common places would be Japan, Hakuba or Hokkaido, or Canada, Whistler or Banff, and maybe the States, Colorado, California, just to name a few. There's some places in Europe that are pretty common for Australians to visit, although it's a lot further for us to travel. That might be France, Italy, Switzerland, and Austria. Obviously, there's many more places you could try, but these are the most common places that Aussies would travel to, and you probably more than likely run into a few Aussies at these resorts. The biggest costs to consider are accommodation, flights, lift passes, and currency exchange. I highly recommend that you do a spreadsheet with these headings and then do your research. You can Google lift tickets and currency exchange rates at any time, and you can start looking at accommodation and flights maybe 12 to 10 months out. Some tips for picking a ski resort. There's not too many ski resorts that have airports nearby, so you're best to go into Google Maps and type in the airport nearest to the ski resort you're looking at, and then go to directions and then type in the ski resort, and then you've got options for car or public transport, and then you can see how to get from the airport to the ski resort. If you want to go by public transport, there's an options button and you can choose bus or train. I'd try both options separately so you can compare the two. If there is a bus or a train option, that's probably my preference over using car hire. It's just a lot less stress using public transport in a foreign country than driving a car and trying to navigate your way around, especially if you don't have data on your phone. Makes it a lot easier if you just can go by train or bus. Many ski resorts offer direct buses from the airport straight to the resort, so that might be worth looking into. Google Maps is a really great feature to use for planning your travel. You can put in your arrival or departure times and dates, and it'll give you the timetable and the cost of the tickets for public transport. Even if your dates are too far out, you can just pick the day that you're traveling on and use similar times, and then you'll get the correct timetable and the costs, which is great for your budget planning. When you pick your dates, there's a couple of things you need to consider. One, school holidays and public holidays. It's worth doing your research and finding out the school holiday or public holiday dates in the country that you're leaving and the country that you're going to be going to. Just be aware that if you do have to travel in these periods, then everything might cost a little bit more, things book out earlier, so you've got to be even more planned than usual. My tip is, if you're flexible with your dates, then I would try to avoid the public holidays and school holidays, as everything will be cheaper and the lift lines will be less and you'll be able to wait longer and book things and maybe even get a sale if you're lucky. And number two, how much snow will there be at the ski resort you're looking at? So you can do a lot of research and find out average snowfall and snow depth and try and work out roughly when the best time is to go. My tip would be try and pick a date that's sort of halfway through the season, towards the end of the season. Just feels like lately at most ski resorts around the world, the ski season's sort of being pushed back a bit, and the better snow is towards the back end of the season. That only works if you're flexible with dates. The next step is to start looking at flights. Some good bit of research is to look into airlines' frequent flyer programs and what partners they share this with. Maybe you're already a frequent flyer member for an airline, so you might start looking for those flights. Um, if you're not a member, then maybe after you select your flights, you should look into joining up with the frequent flyer program for that airline so you can redeem points for the flights that you're taking over for your ski trip. It's pretty good because you can get those points and build them all up, and then one day you'll be able to redeem those points for free flights, which is great for your budget. When you look at flights, don't just look at the cost, look at the duration as well. Some of the cheaper flights have really long durations, which is not great, or multiple stopovers. So obviously the least duration and the least number of stopovers is ideal, but may not suit your budget. Also look at your departure times and your arrival times, as some of those may not suit your preferences. When you started looking at a few different flights, the best thing I find is to list them all in a spreadsheet and separate them by dates, airlines, costs, duration, stopovers, and then once you've got them all in a spreadsheet, it makes it much easier later to compare. And if you ever have to go back, because this may take you a few weeks, maybe even a month or two, to decide what flights you want, then you've got all this data there in a spreadsheet, and it's really easy to compare. Also, when you're searching for all these flights, it's best to use incognito mode. I can't say for sure if this is true, but I have heard that if you're doing a lot of searches on certain flights, some of the airlines take that data and it can skew how much they're putting up or down certain flights. And I don't know if that's true, but even if it's not, if you're searching incognito, then you're not going to get bombarded with all these ads that you don't really want. So yeah, that's just a little tip there. Once you've narrowed down your flight options, the next thing is to research the costs from getting from the airport to the ski resort. As I explained earlier, you can use Google Maps to look at timetables and costs, and you can also research car hire companies if you've decided you're going to hire a car. If you do decide to hire a car, make sure you look into when and where you have to use snow chains, and make sure that you get that included in your car hire. After you've decided on your destination and you've looked at the costs and it's all within your budget, the first thing I book is the accommodation. When looking for accommodation, I typically use booking.com, whatif.com, or trivago.com. There's many more out there, and everyone's got their own preferences. I use booking.com a lot, and because of that, now I'm a Genius member, which gives me extra discounts, but other websites probably have the same sort of deals. It's a good thing to check something like Trivago, because it does a compare of all the different accommodation hotel searching sites, and you get a good variety of prices from all the different websites, and then you can click on the one you want and it'll just take you directly to the hotel website. It's also good to have a look at a few different websites, because sometimes some hotels are on some websites and not on others, or they'll come on at different times. So yeah, it's good to check a few different ones, not just be stuck on the same one. When you are using these hotel websites, the best thing I find is to click on the map view, the satellite view, and then you can zoom in and have a look around the ski resort village and see which hotels are closest to the chairlifts. I find that if you get a hotel that's really close by the chairlift, it makes your life so much easier when you get there. But it's not always possible in all the different villages. So sometimes you might have to look into the bus routes and if there's free shuttle, and maybe some of those have bus stops that are near other hotels and not near others. So that's something worth considering as well. You also want to make sure that the hotel isn't too far from shops and restaurants, because that could make it difficult while you're there as well. When you're looking for your accommodation, check the rates for things like free cancellation and nothing to pay until you get to the property. That can be very handy, because it allows you to book something in really early, and you can also book multiple hotels even in different villages, and then you can decide later down the track after you've picked your flights. The other thing to look at is the room size. So sometimes when you go and click on the actual room details, it'll give you the square meter each or square feet size of the room. I find that anything under 13 square meters is probably too small for my liking. You know, it depends on what budget you're on, but anything from 13 to 25 is comfortable enough with all your ski gear. Anything from 25 to 35 is a bonus, and above that, yeah, that's luxury. The other thing to have a look at is whether they've got private bathroom or shared bathroom. So depending on your preferences, maybe one of those don't suit you, or obviously the shared bathroom ones, they can be a bit cheaper, so maybe that fits into your budget better. If you're staying in Japan, it's worth checking if the beds are the futon traditional Japanese style beds, which is a mattress that's pretty much on the floor, or whether it's a Western style bed. Personally, I go for the Western style bed, being 5'11". It's just a lot more comfortable and better than sort of just lying down on the mattress on the floor. But some people prefer the traditional beds and want to experience the culture while they're in Japan. So yeah, but it's just something worth considering. The other thing to check is whether breakfast is included or not, which can make a difference to your costs later on. So now that you've picked the dates of your accommodation, you've booked your accommodation, you've picked your ski resort, it's now starting, now you start to look at booking your flight. So you can set up flight watches. Google Flights has a good flight watch. So yeah, go on there and have a look at that one. Webjet can also set up flight watches, and pretty much most of the airlines, like Jetstar do, Qantas do. Yeah, you can set up flight watches where you can put your dates in and your departure and destination, and then you can get updates to your phone if the prices change, or the Hopper app's really good because it'll give you an indication whether they think the price is going to go up or whether it's still going to come down some. So yeah, that's a really good thing to do. I would start looking at booking flights maybe 8 to 6 months out. I think if you get any closer than 6 months out, especially to ski resort villages or popular destinations, then I really don't find that flights get any cheaper. And especially if you're going in school holidays or public holidays, you really want to book that as early as possible. They never ever go on sale and they don't get any cheaper. So pretty much what you see is it's going to be the best deal when you maybe even 10 months out for those sort of time frames. Another good tip is if you plan on going on a snow trip, maybe not within the next 12 months, maybe you want to go in the next couple of years, then you can also do some searches on flights costs probably 12 months out. So for example, I'm thinking of going on a snow trip to America and Canada in maybe March 2021. So I've already started looking at flight costs to different places, LA, Vancouver, Denver, in 2020, January, February, March, even April, just to sort of get a rough idea to see what costs I'm going to be up against. And yeah, that helps me sort of decide early whether I want to go over there or maybe I want to go over to Europe. So I'll have a look at those costs and then I can start to compare. But yeah, if you've got that forward thinking, then yeah, you can get a chance to research some of those prices. So now that you've paid for your flights and you've booked your accommodation, it's time to save up for your accommodation costs and travel expenses. Some ski resorts offer early bird specials on lift passes, so it's worth researching them. I know New Zealand do. And there's also a few really good passes worth looking at if you're planning on doing multiple ski trips within a year. So there's the Icon Pass and the Epic Pass. I'll put some links below so you can check them out. It's a good idea to pay off bits and pieces of your holiday between starting the plan and getting there, so when you get there you don't have to pay for a large amount all at once. Plus it's not ideal carrying around a large amount of foreign money with you. So that should be some good tips for you to help plan your next ski holiday. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below, and thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. Thanks, bye.